Okay? I didn't sign on for that. They also are building solar, and they want us to buy solar credits, but guess what? We're going to raise your base rate because you're going to be conserving energy and not spending as much. They spend our monies without our input. We are powerless. They're requesting a permanent increase to cover past one-time costs. Permanent increase because they made a mistake. That is just 7 different shades of wrong. They're also looking for profitability of roughly 10.5% for their shareholders. I don't know anyone that's making 10.5% on their investments. They're charging the same base rate for a mansion and a shack. If you want to have electricity, which is a necessity, not a luxury, we're going to charge you both the same thing. This is not about fairness. This is not about equality. What we want is equity. We want to have some reasonableness. We want to have some say in where our money goes. I don't want to be left in the dark. Thank you.
Jerry Mariucci, please come forward, and Jeremy Boyder, you are on deck.
Good evening, ma'am. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
I think you called my name Mary Dago. Did you?
Jerry Mary, would you state your address, please?
182 Stribling Circle, Spartanburg, 29301.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm Mary Ann Washington Dago, 182 Stribling Circle, 29301. Good evening and thanks for the opportunity. And everything I'm going to say is probably redundant, but that means a lot of people are thinking the same way. So I'm speaking for the people who can't come to a meeting and speak for themselves, as Ms. Reverend Park said, and just think within 3 months a rate increase will happen. And this is really alarming, and people are not expecting it, especially if they don't read the paper and not up with the news. This would be burdensome for the low-income households, discourage energy conservation, and would make electricity more expensive, not only for households, but also for business and industry. The flat fee starting possibly June 1st, 2019 at $8.29 to $28 per month, and increasing a bit more for the next 2 years, as has already been said. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, 59% of South Carolina residents have unaffordable electric rates already. So please consider what you've heard tonight and not vote for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Jerry Mariucci, are you Jeremy Boyder? All right, Jeremy Boyder, thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Jeremy Boyder. My address is 108 Kirkwood Drive in Moore, 29369. As we know, we're here today because Duke Energy is looking for, I think, $168 million for things that they call modernizations or improvements. Now, coming from an industrial background, words like modernizations and improvements were words that we used when we realized that we didn't do the maintenance that we were supposed to do and had budgeted for already, and needed to replace some things that had worn out in kind of an emergency situation. So what we've seen over the past decade is pretty phenomenal, actually. We've seen people across all income ranges and everything else replace a lot of lighting, a lot of appliances, a lot of things like that in their homes for more energy efficient models. We've seen for the first time ever, people are generating electricity at their home and contributing to the grid themselves, which Duke's happy to buy and sell at a profit. That gives some equipment that Duke Energy doesn't even have to pay for and doesn't even have to maintain themselves, that people are happy to maintain out of their pockets. So it's troublesome to me to see that they want $168 million for lack of maintenance on things, when we also see things like when the smart meter program started, there's an article actually on their own website that talks about how we've seen an 80% reduction in the workforce of meter readers as a result of the smart meter program. Now, I don't know how much money that equates to, but last year, Duke Energy, according to a news report, paid out $144 million in severance packages due to layoffs. So there's 85% of that right there in people that they're not paying anymore. So you couple that with other things that we've talked about here, a lot of different really opportunities for Duke Energy to stand up and do the right thing and take responsibility for their own actions, because all of their wonderful customers are certainly doing their part in trying to conserve. So why don't they? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Celia Anderson, you're up, and Rob Wilder, you're on deck.
Good evening, ma'am. Raise your hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Celia Anderson, 723 Highway 417, Moore, South Carolina. I am asking the commissioners to not rubber stamp these increases, these requests for increases. I am asking you for the first time to reject their ridiculous requests and stand up for the people. Do not make victims of the citizens of South Carolina. Do not make victims for the Duke Power energy consumers. They are swimming in cash. And this is just outrageous. Thank you.
Rob Wilder, please come forward. And Joy Remick, you are on deck.
Mr. Wilder, do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah, I did.
Please state your name and address.
My name's Rob Wilder. I live at 310 East Prince Road in Landrum, South Carolina. Like many of the people here, I echo a lot of the same sentiments that they've already said. I'd like to say we've been in Landrum since 2012. In 2012, we bought a house that was built in 1917. Since then, we've spent thousands of our own dollars in trying to make it more energy efficient with double pane windows, adding insulation, switching to LED lights, updating our appliances, programmable thermostat, and we put in a dual fuel heating and air system. We also just last week put in solar panels in our yard with the expectation that we would be paying on some months, no more than $8.29 for that facility fee. And that is a 238% increase if it went to $28. Over the course of the life of that solar system, that $228 per year also increase would amount to over $5,000 extra that we would be paying for that just to hook on to Duke. Also, we just got under the wire for the one-to-one net metering, and I know that Duke has said that they support their solar clean energy, and although their proposal does triple those fees, and I'm not sure how that is supporting the people who have invested in solar. Our system costs $23,000. Because of federal and state tax incentives, we will get a good portion of that back. But we did do that for our benefit, but at the same time we did that for the benefit of all. Just like I think many people who are doing solar, it's not just for themselves, that we feel like we're doing the right thing. Also, in 2017, there were a record number of energy companies around the country who are asking to do the same thing, raise their facility rate fees. And it seems to me that we might be seeing a new energy model from these energy companies because they're not seeing the revenues, because we are doing such a good job at conserving. We are investing in insulation and energy efficient homes. And so I wonder if, like I said, this is a new business model, a way to raise revenues. I can't say for sure, but the last thing I'd like to say is if you deny this request, you will be in good company, because many of the energy companies who've asked for this, they have been denied by the same people that are sitting here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilder. Commissioners, thank you very much, Mr. Wilder.
Joy Remick, would you please come forward? And Alex Farnsworth, you're on deck. Okay. Alex Farnsworth. All right. Thank you. And Dmytro, you're on deck.
Raise your right hand, sir. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Alex Farnsworth. I live at 278 Doolittle Street in Cherokee County, South Carolina. All right, I'll tell you all a little bit about myself. I'm a young entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I own a seasonal business. We're open for 15 nights out of the year, I believe. So for 10 months, the power at my business has stayed off. There's no power going there at all. I flipped the breaker off, no power. Duke Power still charges me $9, and I think it's $9.60 something, even though I don't use any power at all. That's their, I guess that's what they call their base charge. I don't know a lot of their terminology. I also have a few rental properties that I do. My thing is, they want to increase our rates, but you call them out to do work to your house, and then they send out 6 workers, and 5 of them's got their hand in their pockets looking up while one of them's working. So who's paying for those other 6 workers to be there? We are. And I'm not good at speeches, but I believe you guys should vote no. I believe that everybody in here, you would be going against everybody's wishes in the entire state of South Carolina if you don't vote no. That's really all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth. Questions from the parties? Commissioners. Thank you, sir.
All right. Would you come forward, please? And Marilyn Dean, you're on deck.
Good evening, sir. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Please state your name and address.
Excuse me, sir. Could you spell your name?
Absolutely. My name is Dmytro, D-E-M-E-T-R-I, last name T-S-I-O-L-K-A-S. I live at 1955 Drayton Road, Drayton, South Carolina, 29333. I'd like to first stand in support of a lot of the comments that have been made before me, and I'd like to thank the Commission for being here and having this public hearing. But I'm concerned about the proposed rate increase of 12% and the base facility increase of 238% for the residents of South Carolina, and I formally oppose the proposed increase. On February 2nd, 2014, a pipe at the Duke Energy plant coal ash ponds in Eden, North Carolina burst. According to the U.S. Department of the Interior, 39,000 tons of coal ash and 27 million gallons of ash pond water were deposited into the Dan River, extending down the river for 70 miles. This river is a source of drinking water for communities in North Carolina and Virginia, as well as natural habitats for fish, birds, and other organisms on endangered species lists. Coal ash is the byproduct of burning coal to produce electricity. It contains silica or fine sand, metals, and compounds that have potential to be contaminants of potential concern, or COPCs. Based on environmental samples collected from the Dan River, the coal ash spill included arsenic, copper, selenium, iron, zinc, and lead. Prior to the incident, in 2013, environmental groups attempted to sue Duke Energy 3 times under the Clean Water Act to force the company to fix leaks in its coal ash dumps. It was through one of these leaks that the 39,000 tons of coal ash eventually poured into the river. There was ample time and attention drawn to the situation, and Duke Energy did nothing to prevent it. Duke Energy pled guilty to criminal negligence after the Eden, North Carolina spill into the Dan River. The company acknowledged their faults in security of coal ash ponds and the failure to listen to the environmental regulations and precautions that were previously established. And yet, despite the admission of guilt, more spills have occurred. Since the spill in 2014, there have been 2 more spills that have happened in North Carolina at the Wilmington Power Plant and in areas near Goldsboro, North Carolina, due to the effects of Hurricane Matthew and Hurricane Florence, respectively. It seems that despite the admission of guilt, they continue to act reprehensibly. What lesson have they learned? To me, it appears they have not learned anything other than they can continue to pollute our waterways and pay a fine that will eventually be passed on to the residents. At what point will Duke Energy have to pay for its own mistakes and not forward the debt onto the residents of the Carolinas? This increase will disproportionately affect lower-income residents. Have those individuals not suffered enough during the difficult economic times of the past few years? One argument for the proposed increase offered by Duke's state president was to accurately reflect the cost to serve every residential customer, ensuring all customers pay their fair share to access and use the electric grid. In reality, this is yet another attempt to have the folks who are already suffering subsidize the energy use of the wealthier neighbors. I implore the council to consider our friends and neighbors in the upstate who are already living paycheck to paycheck and not have the executives of the company. Please vote in opposition to the proposed energy increases, at least until we can see verifiable evidence that Duke Energy will take the environment and our fellow citizens into account when making decisions that ultimately affect all of us. Thank you.
Nice job. Commissioners, questions? Thank you, sir.
Nice job. Marilyn Dean, would you please come forward with Marsha Dago or Dazel? You're on deck.
For me, sorry.
All right, raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Marsha Dago. I live at 142 Len Court here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. This is actually the first forum that I've ever attended. I've been gone for like 2-3 months, and I came back home and I just heard about all this. I really don't like listening to the news because you don't know what's right and what's wrong. But I was kind of concerned about this because I know each and every one of you sitting there at the panel is to work for the public and to work for us. That is why you have this job. I spent 40 years working for the government. I know how it works. I've been there, I've seen it, and I really think everyone sitting on this panel needs to say no to this. I have a son that is disabled here, and I'm not speaking just for myself, but everyone that's come here, these low-income families that are on a fixed income cannot afford a 12% raise. My son lives on $20 a week. And when my mother was here, the only reason I moved to South Carolina is because I bought a house here in 2004, because I really thought South Carolina was there to support their people and to be there to look out for their people. And it was a nice place to live, and they had jobs coming here. Well, if you're going to not help the people and they're going to be moving out, these businesses are going to follow. They can't afford this. I don't know why these businesses, are they getting this same raise like everybody else because we're paying for Duke's problems? I mean, they're the ones that made the error. Nobody in this room, and I'm not speaking just for me myself, I'm speaking for everybody, they should not have to pay for their mistakes. It's just ridiculous. And I want to know if anybody here, I mean, my son can't even pay his electric bill. Sometimes I'm worried I'm going to find him frozen in the winter because he can't turn his heat on because his bill is so expensive. Where he rents from, I don't know what, it's the only place we could get for him because of his income. Are those buildings even insulated? Probably not. I mean, you guys really need to think about everybody, not just your jobs, but everybody that here is at this meeting. They are expecting you all to say no. And with your heart and with your soul, you really need to think about that. This increase is ridiculous. Cost of living is only 2%, and that's the first cost of living in 2 years, and they want to increase it to 12%. That is just insane. I don't even know how they justify it.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions?
Marilyn Dean here. Okay. Would Charles Watkins please come down? James Thompson is on deck.
Good evening, sir. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address.
My name is Charles Watkins. I'm at 371 Rock Hill Church Road, Inman, South Carolina. I'll basically be echoing the sentiments that others have expressed. In its rate application, Duke explained that it needed to raise additional revenue to cover the $62 million it spent cleaning up coal ash, $639 million it has spent converting old coal plants to natural gas, $152 million on new solar farms, $126 million to relicense hydroelectric dams, and $125 million to recover the cost of the canceled Lee Nuclear Station in Gaffney. That amounts to more than $1.1 billion of cost, which is a lot of money. However, the current rates still allow Duke Power to cover these expenses and earn multi-billion-dollar net profits. I believe clean power is important for our future, and the people that have invested the most in clean energy are those who have installed solar power. Middle-class citizens have invested into clean energy using their personal income and income taxes, which were forcefully collected and then redistributed in the form of tax incentives to encourage investment into clean solar power. The results of these voluntary and non-voluntary investments currently result in power bills that not only amount to, that basically amount to the connection rate only, which is why the tripling of the connection rate is particularly punishing. It is not acceptable that Duke Power, a company with multi-billion-dollar profits, wants to indirectly receive tax revenue by way of a power monopoly. Nor is it acceptable that Duke Energy benefit from private citizens' investment. It's not too much to ask that a corporation with multi-billion-dollar profits find more innovative ways to increase their profit margin while delivering clean energy. It's repulsive that the connection and rate pricing increases do nothing to promote responsible energy usage, while at the same time punishing those who invested the most into clean energy or energy conservation. Lastly, Duke Energy laid off 40% of their engineering staff at the Coney nuclear power plant. I believe they have taken enough money out of the South Carolina economy while making $1 billion in net profits. Vote no on the increase.
Thank you. Any questions?
Good evening.
Keith
Please raise your right hand.
Dellinger.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes, please state your name and address for us here.
My name is James Thompson, 106 Scruggs Avenue, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Now, I don't have no other birthday in the 80s. I used to do a lot of work for Duke. I put the heating system in the already sold in the First Baptist here. And what I found out, that my house, 900 square feet, 2-ton heat pump, 14 seal. I use a 5 kW heat strip, called for 40 amps, condenser called for 25 amps. My light bill, 100 and something like 110. But I'm an old man and I keep my temperature something like 73. I don't have no arthritis. But what I'm looking at Duke, even when they had all this bad weather here, they cut limbs up there. They left them laying up there. I walked through the place. They got limbs up there 6 inches in diameter, still laying up there when they cut for the snow back in the winter. And then I look back again. I'm old history. I got a letter last week. I get $135 Social Security money. The government said I can't draw my Social Security because I work for the government. I can't draw off my wife because I work for the government. Then I look back. I get a 2% raise, and y'all raising up, requesting what, 15%? That's what I get. So I'm 89 years old. Okay? So that's what I look at, why I get a 2% and y'all requesting above. That's what I look at Duke. And I have did a lot of work for Duke through other companies. Way back, Mr. Frank Blakely and all of them way back, see. I'm no teenager. So a company large as Duke, why they want this type of money? I had to know what I was doing. If I did something wrong, I had to give an account of it. Who made the mistake? Why is all this raise coming? So that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Mr. Thompson?
No question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please come forward with Steve Harville on deck. All right. Okay. Do I have Caroline Murphy? That's him. Mr. Harville? Okay. Caroline Murphy? No. Leroy Bennett? All right. Thank you, sir. Abdul Ali is on deck.
Mr. Bennett, Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You do, yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
Yes, I'm Leroy F. Bennett. I live in 764 North Church Street, Spartanburg, South Carolina. New resident here to Spartanburg, and it's a lovely place, I must say. I'm blessed because yesterday, just before it was announced that you were having a rate increase, I just had a recertification on my apartment, so that because I live at an all-inclusive apartment, but the rate increase will affect those who also live there after they, if there is a rate increase. So excuse me if I sound a little nervous. I'm not used to speaking in public, okay? Thank you. What I'm disappointed in the fact that Duke wants to go ahead and make a rate increase about 3.5 times the amount, you know, from $8 to $28 right there. For some, that means the difference between feeding a family or feeding themselves or having the lights turned on. It's not fair. It's unjust because you have a lot of people who are living on fixed incomes. You have elderly people. You have people who are disabled. Myself, God bless her soul, my daughter, who's now deceased, she was a special needs child. And if she was living today and I was making the money that I'm making now in order to try to keep a roof over her head and keep the lights on and feed her, with the income increase or the increase in the proposed, I wouldn't be able to do it, you know. And there are other people like myself who are in this particular situation. I ask that the board here listen to the concerns of the citizens, the ones who are able to just barely keep the lights on, to barely keep the food on the table, and say no to the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any questions for Mr. Bennett? Thank you, sir.
Please come forward, and Dwight Lewis is on deck.
Good evening, sir. Raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Nothing but the truth.
Please tell me your name and address.
My name is Abdul Ali, and I stay at 245 Rigby Avenue, Spartanburg, South Carolina. And I ain't talking nothing negative. I hear all this negative stuff, and I don't talk nothing negative. But they telling the truth. Y'all sticking it to us. I mean, hard. You know, the water bill hitting us up, and I'm disabled myself, disabled and old. But y'all sticking it to us. I mean, we can't keep on giving and giving and giving and giving, and that's what we've been doing. We give, even if we go to a store, you got somebody there for you to pay by all these groceries. There goes somebody up there say, will you give this? Everybody wants somebody to give something. But y'all keep on sticking it to the people. And the people, you know, give us a break sometime. You know, you can't keep on doing us that way all the time. And that's, you know, that's basically what I want to say. And I used to work for a power company, the one SENG, up there in Columbia back in the 78 and 80 when we was building that plant. And so I know how the people operate. They don't have no oath they want to stand with, and these power companies do that. Because I worked in that company. I kept the people safe. I'm making them do everything right, and I step on the outside after we done built the plant. I step on the outside, and I write up a superintendent for not being safe around his own people. Then they finna fire me then on the spot. But then the vice president of the company heard about it and said, well, hey, he did a good thing. He the only person that ever wrote up a STNG superintendent. But the thing is, you got rules. You got this oath that you make, but you won't do it for the people. You won't do something for the people. The people are the ones who are suffering. And, you got to do better. I'm going to take all my time. Look here. No, I mean, seriously. I mean, give us a break, man. We got to pay these bills. It's not because Here, one black man right here, you can't say that ain't never worked. I done worked 40 years. These feet done put some up on these things right here. My last job when I came to this back home in Spartanburg was at Lee Fibers. And they like to work me to death, 18 years there. And they like to kill me. But the thing is, we got to stop it. The police department, they don't make no money. You can't base all our income on SCENG. The police department don't make no money like SCNG. They got to work 5 jobs to get to pay their bills. You know, and everybody basing it on where they got money up there. Yeah, they riding BMWs. Yeah, we ain't riding no BMWs. You know, I got my car from a little place right around the corner around there and hoping to pray and make it to pay the bill off. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Any questions?
White Lewis, please come forward. And Tim Brown. Tim Brown is off on deck. All right. No Mr. Lewis or Mr. Brown.
Mr. Lewis and Ms. Brown?
Tim Brown.
Mr. Brown, raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tim Brown. I live at 117 Neely Avenue here in Spartanburg. The September-October 2017 issue of Sierra Magazine, published by the Sierra Club, spoke specifically to the new business model for American utility companies and also spoke to the commonest reason for their requested rate increases. And I quote, "The problem is the utility has a financial incentive to build. The way utilities make money is not by actually selling electricity, but by building infrastructure. That means the more the company builds, the more it earns, and the more customers pay to cover those construction costs." I present this as a backdrop for this. Past Friday, March 8th, a coalition of environmental groups, the Southern Environmental Law Center, the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, the Sierra Club, and the Natural Resources Defense Council filed expert analyses with the North Carolina utility regulators that Duke Energy's long-range plans would cost customers too much money by doing the following things. 1, keeping aging, inefficient coal plants online. 2, building new power plants that are not needed to meet electricity demand. And then 3, failing to tap the full potential of abundant, low-cost, clean energy resources like solar. Then I have a question to ask, and the question may seem naive, but does the South Carolina law prohibit a utility from recovering from customers the expenses that it incurred based on negligent or unlawful actions? Negligent or unlawful actions that the company's shareholders profited from. And I asked that question, and I quote again from a resource everyone can track down. In the May 14th, 2015 issue of the New York Times, it said Duke Energy, the nation's largest utility corporation, pleaded guilty on Thursday to criminal violations of the Federal Clean Water Act for the discharge of coal ash, a potentially toxic waste product. The company agreed to pay $1.2 million in fines and environmental fees, one of the largest fees assessed to a company since the passing of the act in 1972.